national agricultural research organizations, new seed companies, and agro-dealer shops are all part of this transformation. Farmers are also being trained in sustainable soil management techniques, are also coming together to help to shape their future. By organizing themselves in farmers' organizations, smallholder farmers are freeing themselves from their dependence on middlemen who can take up to 30% of the value of the farmer's crop. These organizations are helping farmers improve access to storage, to information on market prices, and where necessary, to credit, so that they are not forced to sell their produce when the prices are low. In fact, last year I visited a farming region in Kenya, and we went to a farm. Next to the farm was a small room, about a third of the stage, and on the wall was a blackboard. The vertical side showed the crops they had for sale: corn, maize, onions, and then the horizontal side showed the cities: Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, and it indicated the prices that the goods were going for in each of these cities. And the farmers then made their sale with their cell phone. So I walked away saying, it's amazing how they've been able to establish their own Chicago Board of Trade in this little corner of Kenya, and it was working, and it was very, very exciting to see that. But more inspiring than hearing from them, from these farmers, what a difference these changes are making today, where their hopes for the future. They are confident that with continued support, they can meet increased demands for their crops. Similar programs are at work across the continent, ensuring sustainable food production and changing people's lives. In Kenya, once again, farmers have quadrupled production of maize and other crops by using lime to revitalize acidic soils. The local lime companies have donated the cost of transporting soil nutrients to the farmers. The Equity Bank in Kenya has made finance available at favorable rates to farmers. And the National Agricultural Research Institute is developing improved crop varieties and coordinating the entire effort. This project's success could reverberate across much of East Africa and Central Africa, Southern Africa. In the southern highlands of Tanzania, 700,000 smallholder farmers produced 5 million metric tons of maize in 2009, more than any other region in the country, utilizing improved seeds and fertilizer distributed through the agro dealers program. Luckily, the World Bank has been so encouraged by the results that it is now providing $160 million to scale up the initiative nationwide. In Malawi, greatly improved seeds and yields because of access to affordable fertilizers have led to the country becoming a net exporter of maize for the last 4 years. But this success, which has been driven by targeted outside funding, in itself reveals the challenges the small farmers face. We now need to see the sustained support and reliable markets in which to sell their crops to help this tremendous but still temporary or fragile success become permanent. We are seeing as well the World Food Programme working to expand access by sourcing more and more of its food aid in Africa from local farmers. One of the program's regular trading partners, for example, is a group of women farmers in Kenya. Through World Food Program, Bread for the World, Haifa International, and many other actors, the central role that women farmers play is finally being recognized. But we must do more to help them by removing the barriers in their way. We cannot forget that the women who produce most of Africa's food are particularly disadvantaged economically and socially. They are not considered heads of households. Rarely do they have titles to land, and their interests are all too often overlooked by traditional financial institutions. We need practical measures from field to market to remove these obstacles so they have a voice and a stake right through the agricultural value chain. This must include innovative ways of ensuring that their experience and aspirations help us shape agricultural policy. But it is not just women farmers who have found it difficult in the past to access investment. Despite the huge importance of agriculture to Africa's economies, the continent's commercial banks typically extend less than 3% of their lending to that sector. We have to put this right. Agriculture is a business and must be financed as such. The huge need to provide farmers and agribusiness with affordable credit is beginning to be met, but we have a long, long way to go. AGRA and its partners, for example, have been able to mobilize $160 million in affordable loans from local commercial banks through credit guarantees. This is unprecedented and is an effort that we need to expand and ensure succeeds. We are seeing as well investment in and support for agro-dealer networks, which are building thousands of rural businesses across the continent and ensuring that the inputs are available to the farmers. These are helping millions of farmers in remote areas gain access to basic ingredients and is leading to the successes we are seeing through the through increased use of improved seeds and fertilizers. My dear friends, the challenges remain immense. We are only at the start of a very long and grueling journey, but the balance is changing. There was a real sense of optimism as we heard from Ambassador Quinn at the first African Green Revolution Forum in Accra, where about 1,000 people attended. They included government leaders, parliamentarians, bankers, farmers, civil society organizations, and scientists and researchers. It was fascinating to see CEOs from corporations, bankers at this event. It is very rare if you ever see a business, a CEO or a banker at African agricultural events. So we were encouraged, and it's an indication that the private sector is beginning to take interest and realize that there are prospects for investments in African agriculture. But even more impressive was the realization that fundamental change is now within our grasp. I think we left the forum in Accra with clear ideas of what must be accomplished to accelerate this green revolution. There's a huge task ahead of us. Many millions are still going hungry. Populations continue to grow. Climate change is almost by the day adding to the pressures on Africa's land. But I remain optimistic about Africa's chances to turn the corner once and for all. And I think with the partnership that we have established and the energy that we are bringing to this issue, we can do it. And if we miss this opportunity, I don't know when we're going to get another one. way forward is clear. We need to build on our successes, listen to the farmers, innovate as we go, and scale up what we know works. Like any successful revolution, the goal must always be permanent reform. Or as somebody told me earlier this morning, the first step must be followed by a second, a third, and a fourth, but we often forget that, as she told me this morning. It is a challenge which all of us must work to overcome, because we all have a stake in Africa's future. Without a prosperous, stable, and peaceful Africa, our ambitions for our world will not succeed. We need African governments to stand by and support their farmers through resource allocation and through right policies, right economic policies that also are environmentally sensitive and is pro-poor and pro-rural communities. But it is equally important that the developed world upholds its commitments and promises to Africa and continues to work with Africa on this agricultural transformation as a priority. The private sector too has a huge role to play to invest in the new opportunities opening up. This includes investment in commercial farms, which can both encourage economies of scale and foster the uptake of new technologies. This is not a simple matter of big farms or small ones. Indeed, when done responsibly, large-scale systems can play an important role in directly supporting small farmers through technical advice and support and access to markets. However, care must always be taken to ensure that local communities are consulted, their rights to land and natural resources are also protected. As we know, this partnership approach has not always been followed in the past. So, dear friends, I don't, and I know you don't, underestimate the difficulties ahead or the distance we still have to travel. We will need to harness effectively all your talents and energies to help us reach the destination we've set ourselves. But if we stand together, governments, civil society, the private sector, the scientists, and the farmers, and sustain our efforts, I assure you a unique African green revolution is within our grasp. It will be a huge step forward, banishing hunger and meeting our ambitions for a just and peaceful world. And finally, let me say that it holds out the hope that World Food Day will not in the future be a rebuke for the 1 billion people who don't have enough to eat, but a celebration of food and nutrition secure world. Thank you very much.
Secretary General, I want to assure you that standing ovations are not the norm here. You have clearly touched and inspired everyone that is here, and you have added to that sense of optimism that you and I both felt when we were in Ghana. As World Food Day approaches, I want to pledge to you that the World Food Prize wants to be part of this historic and epic challenge which you are leading.